Welcome back, everyone, after the break. And I'm sure you're looking forward to this session, which is all about the exciting world of the Internet of Things, specifically looking at how and where IoT applications play in the world of supply chain and logistics. And for this presentation, we actually have two speakers. We have Srinivas Krishnappa, who is the Regional Sales Director at Aspar Next. And following Srinivasan, we have Stephen Much, who is a Senior Business Architect at Software AG. So without further ado, can I first welcome Srinivas to on stage, on virtual stage, for his segment of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Srinivas Krishnappa. I lead the sales for Aspar Next in Singapore and emerging markets region. Aspar Next is an 11-year-old consulting and IT services organization with presence across Asia Pacific, EMEA, and Americas. We have our headquarters in Singapore. We are on a revolutionary path to transform companies leveraging intelligent solutions. We achieve this by enabling our capabilities in providing business flexibility, reduced operational costs, faster time to market, complemented with security and scalability of the enterprise workloads. Aspar Next is more inclined towards born in cloud model. However, when it comes to business communications, we believe that there is no one-size-fit-all solution. Hence, we provide the flexibility to our customers to choose and adopt cloud, on-premise, and hybrid models. Our core services include application transformation, big data, analytics, AI/ML, DevOps, cloud-native solutions, and IoT with horizontal services across managed services and security. Our managed services portfolio is aimed at increasing productivity and efficiency in our customer environment with 24/7 secured services options. Aspar Next is a strategic partner of choice to organizations that wants to deliver business excellence using cloud as a tool. We accomplish this by partnering with hyperscale cloud service providers like Amazon Web Services. Our aim is to bring the power of cloud to organizations for accelerating their time to value and to achieve significant business impact. This specific slide reflects our vision and path in building capabilities and competencies on AWS services. Aspar Next received the Partner of the Year award from AWS on analytics and machine learning for ASEAN region in the year 2020. That's last year, which is a true testimony for our execution capabilities and customer obsession. I would let our OEM partner from Software AG, Stephen, to drive the discussion on reimagining transport and logistics on IoT. I would also request each one of you to visit our booth and feel free to ask questions in the chat. Over to you, Stephen. Thank you once again.
Right, thanks very much. I'll take the screen from you if I can. Right, let me share my screen. Okay, great. Thanks very much. So basically, I work for Software AG. We obviously partner with Aspar Next. We're a 50-year-old German company, and our partnership extends across a couple of areas, but one key area where we do partner in is actually in the IoT space. We actually have an IoT platform that we use in quite a range of different industries. In particular, logistics is one industry that we've been involved with for quite some time, not just in IoT, but also in real-time systems where we monitor logistic operations and cargo and things like that. One of the key things that our Internet of Things solution does, it allows people to build solutions very, very quickly and very efficiently without the need to have large groups of IT people doing that for us. So it allows us to put sensors onto different objects in real world industries and real world business and bring that information together inside a system very simply and very easily. As you can see here on screen, these are just some of the examples of the way that we enable IoT-based applications to be built very quickly. It is actually a case of us very easily connecting devices using pre-configured arrangements we have in device catalogs, which are enabled for our platform already in the markets, quite a few of those. But also not just that, also bringing together analytics and dashboards very simply, very quickly. That's all available, as well as integrating other applications such as OT systems and cloud services so that we can gather information from a lot of different areas, not just from devices that are in the IoT space. And in addition to that, also building customized applications, and we'll show you some examples of those later on, including some in the vaccine space that are quite relevant to today's environment. And one of the things we do point out in terms of building these complex projects is just how many fail. About 80% of IoT proof of concepts fail to deliver really any business practical use in the long term, and that's because people need to spend time understanding what IoT is, what it does and what it's capable of, and also having some objective in mind about what you want to actually achieve. And of course, one of the key underlying reasons for that is that 65% of people can't articulate the actual IoT POC for investment. So it's key to actually involve people that have done this before, and people such as Aspar Next and us. We've worked in this field for quite a few different areas and we've got expertise in these fields. The platform that we have is very quick and easy to get up and running. As I said, it can be deployed very quickly. And that's because we have the ability to run our platform in the cloud. People can log on to our platform and start a subscription and build solutions from scratch, because it's a low-code platform. In addition to that, it's actually open and independent, so we can bring together the world of IT as well as the operational world, so that we can merge together those technical capabilities with the understanding of people that work in the logistics business, and actually understand what are the key attributes of how you can make that business profitable. So if you can join those two worlds together, it gives you a kind of a winning combination, because you can leverage technologies to optimize revenue that you can actually make in the logistics field, as well as reduced losses and things like that. The other thing is that we have the ability to extend these platforms into the cloud and distribute them, and they are secure. A lot of our solutions that we have, not just in the space but in other spaces, have US government level security and are used by the Department of Defense and people such as that. Our platform is made up of an architecture. We have a base layer where we've got device connectivity. We then have data and analytics and integration API, as well as an application layer, and then solution accelerators on top of that. Solution accelerators allow us to have a pre-built view of an industry and to be able to deploy those accelerators for use in industry spaces so that people can get up and running very, very quickly. The great thing about this solution is, or this platform, is that you can deploy it on premises as well as have it in the cloud, and also do it in a hybrid manner. And all of that where we can actually segregate a cloud-based platform between different entities, so we can have multi-tenancy, as well as scalability and high availability as well. So that's our architecture. So if you could just pop on. Yep, sure. Great. In terms of the differentiating capabilities about what this IoT platform actually offers, is that we have a pre-built wide range of devices available that simply plug in. That is because these devices have already been tested inside the platform. So, for example, if you've got MQTT-based devices or Modbus or anything like that, and they're in the catalogue, those are things that will work natively. You don't have to actually do any work other than configure the parameters for the device inside the platform, and the platform will then start to read device information automatically, because device management comes out of the box for these devices. So it's very simple and very easy, quick to get up and running. Another key thing is that there's actually a powerful set of self-service analytics built into this. It's actually powered by a very high-speed back engine that we've actually been using in investment banks since the late 90s, early 2000s. So it's got a long history of being used in very stressful environments. It allows you to bring in artificial intelligence and machine learning. Investments in the SaaS space, for instance, or statistical analysis or SPSS or anything like that, we can actually import statistical and machine learning models into the back end of the system, and you can actually have that running with the streaming data from all of the devices that you have. And the other unique thing that we have is that we can do B2B and multiply that across a multi-tenancy environment, so we can do white labeling and things like that. So if you have subsidiaries within your logistics business, you can run this from within the group structure, but also have the subsidiaries run this as well. So it's very powerful when you've got a diverse business, especially if it's across geographies and there's different languages and things like that. Or the system can cope with all of those types of localization requirements. It's very powerful in that way. So if we go on to the next slide, that'd be great. Thanks. And we also handle any type of business or any scale of business that might actually be needed. We have different levels of entry into the system. We have a basic and advanced and an enterprise level. For basic, you might only want something that you're starting out with some very basic things without the need to do any of the really advanced kind of artificial intelligence type work or anything like that. And then we can scale up all the way to the enterprise type solutions. We actually have a migration tool that allows you to move each of these different stages of growth that you can actually use to move the application. Very simple and very easy to use. So it's quite powerful like that. So if we go forward a bit, that'd be great. And these are just different ways that we can connect into these together. We've got a lot of different clients that we've actually worked with. We're going to show you some examples in a minute. We have telcos that allows us to actually cover quite a range of different places in the world where telcos will offer this type of platform to their customers in a range of different industries. We also have different manufacturers that use us a lot. So a lot of manufacturers embed our sensing and other IT technologies in their devices, and we use those as a subscription service, so they can actually sell services to get analytical information and things like that for their own clients based upon their devices, whether they be robotics, manufacturing equipment, air compressors, things like that. So we actually had some boiler manufacturers and air compressor manufacturers that you normally use in hospitals that have used our software during the COVID crisis when they built temporary hospitals to be able to monitor these temporary hospitals. There's a lot of different use cases that we use, and we can get them up to speed very quickly with these advanced technologies. Thanks very much. If you just pop onto the next one. One of the cases I'd like to have a talk to you today about is actually about Bega. It's a cheese manufacturer in Australia, and they have quite a demanding use case in terms of cold chain assurance and making sure that all of the parts of the supply chain to their cheese business actually are working effectively, plus as well knowing what the history of their raw products has been through in order to be able to track, to make sure we can prevent wastage and also ensure quality and stop any spoilage as well. So they can actually measure the environment that their product has been through all the way through the manufacturing stage, from the farm into the factory and then back out to suppliers. So if there's any questions, they can provide information to the end consumers of their cheese-based products whether it be at retail or bulk level, as to actually what's been happening with the product and give some assurance to the customers. If we could maybe just move on to the next slide. QTRS is another company. This is also an Australian transportation company based in Queensland, but they also do transportation across Australia. We have some good examples here of the types of savings and things that can be made in the refrigerated logistics area. We've got examples where there used to be a lot of wastage in the industry, and as a result of that, truck drivers used to be trained as refrigeration experts. And when the industry went under some quite large changes back many years ago, they stopped training their truck drivers to be refrigerant experts. So they started to find a lot of loss in their cold chain business. For instance, they did have some strawberry producers who packed $180,000 worth of strawberries into a truck, and they delivered it to the supermarket. And the supermarket wasn't satisfied with the actual history of that stock. They believed that the truck had got warmer than what it should have been, and they tried to reject stock. The reason they tried to reject the stock was that they were already overstocked on strawberries and they'd contracted to purchase this fruit. And it was going to cost the QTRS $110 per tonne to actually dump this into a landfill. And they would have lost $180,000 worth of stock. But they were actually able to prove by using the IoT-based solution that in actual fact the stock was perfectly okay, and they avoided $180,000 loss with this. So there's a lot of use cases like this that QTRS have had, and that we can talk to people about to give them some idea about this type of thing. But we've also got a lot of other success in other areas as well. If you just move maybe forward a bit on the slide. In each of these different areas, we've had a lot of success in these fields. You can actually just quickly look through that or through the slides later on to get some sorry about that, some idea about our successes. The last one I want to show you, if we could move forward a slide. Yep, is about a vaccine use case that we have. Sorry, I can't tell you their client, but it might be really evident from the screen that you can see before you. This is a vaccine producer for whom we actually produced a very, very rapid way for them to track the transportation and the life cycle and history of the vaccines that they're actually distributing. So we can actually track this, and we can produce a blockchain record for the history of vaccines throughout the transportation process. But we can also do a bit more. In the transportation of some of the vaccines, this manufacturer has actually lost a few cargoes. So we've actually added on to their ability to monitor these trucks. If you look in the top right, you'll see a screen with a driver there, a photo of a driver. He's actually turning around for something in the back of the truck and not paying attention to where he's driving. So we've actually added some artificial intelligence capability to monitor the driver to make sure that they're paying attention on the roads, so they don't actually, it's this extremely valuable commodity. Obviously, we don't want a couple of $1 million worth of vaccine being lost because the guy's had an accident, which has actually happened in Europe. And this is the reason why they've actually done this. So that's all the slides I have. So I will go back.
Thank you, Stephen. I would definitely request the participants to please join us at Aspar Next booth. And we do have a few minutes left. If you have any questions.
Well, I see one question that's come in here from Kelvin Liu of YCH. And he's asking, can IoT be used in the warehouse?
Yes, definitely. We do a lot of warehouse work, actually. We can, there's quite a few different range of technologies we're doing, including RFID and things like this. People have come up with some really innovative stuff as well, which includes solutions such as roaming robots that go around and detect these tags and also can check for stock levels and things like that, because people do lose pallets of stock. And that's, in particular, we know of one case in Thailand, just south of Bangkok, where there's a very large facility where this type of activity is going on, and they use these small robots to roam the warehouse to make sure that they're not losing stock, but also to check perishables and things like that as well.
Okay, yeah, so very applicable in the warehouse, I think, is the answer to that question.
Yeah.
So we still have a little bit of time for more questions.
Yes, Bob.
So I see that you're both located in Singapore. So your business activities, are they in Southeast Asia or the wider Asia region?
Shreyas, you want to go first?
Thanks so much, Stephen. Good question, Bob. Aspar Next is headquartered in Singapore, but as I mentioned earlier, we do have presence in Southeast Asia, across APJ, EMEA, and Americas.
But in terms of what you're seeing in, let's say, Southeast Asia, what is the level of interest in IoT versus some of the other regions where you operate?
Okay. Our core focus is in Singapore, Malaysia, and Philippines.
Yeah, but the level of interest here, say, versus Europe or versus the US or Japan, how's the level, not only the level of interest, but also the level of understanding of what IoT can do for companies?
Stephen,
yeah, sure. So the level of interest is actually quite varied. During COVID, I actually flew down to New Zealand because I'm a New Zealander, so I can actually get in. So I did work with dairy and other industrial areas, and the interest is extremely high there. It's extremely high in Australia. It's less high in Indonesia. It's kind of somewhat high in Thailand because they're already going through a lot of changes in the automotive and other industries, where their primary vehicle construction companies like Ford and Mazda and Honda, they're doing a lot of automotive work in Thailand. So they're already quite across the IoT space. So it's actually already gathered a lot of space there. IoT is probably less used in the Philippines, I would say. And there's some kind of economic reasons around that, where a higher percentage of their GDP is actually being generated domestically, not from exports. There's less of this industrialized manufacturing and things like that. But we're also seeing a lot of interest in Korea, especially with automotive manufacturers, which are actually adopting German-built robots and things like this to try and bring manufacturers such as Hyundai and these people up to the same level of quality as Mercedes. So you're going to see a lot of that kind of stuff, and that's really taking off in Korea. And also now a lot more IoT interest in China, especially in fish farming, things like this, because they're very worried about food security with this COVID stuff going on. I think it's a major concern there. So you're going to see a lot of agricultural push in the IoT space for sure, and we're doing some fish farming work there as well.
Okay, that's interesting. So you mentioned automotive, you mentioned agriculture. Are there any other sectors where there's high level of applicability of IoT?
Yeah, chemical engineering. We do work, I do a lot of work here on Jurong Island. So I go out to chemical factories, even though I'm an ex-investment banker. I have to go into these industrial sites and do different things, look at different chemical processes and work with engineers. So that's another big one, petro and chemical.
Okay.
It's a big one.
We have a question here from Joe Lombardo. It's actually directed to Stephen. How much time and effort should companies spend on optimizing their business architecture, i.e. moving away from legacy systems?
I think a lot, because there is a lot of work going on in, how do I put it? So there's a lot of work going on in supply chain management in the US, and in actual fact, the US Department of Defense is working with us just as an example, and I think they're forcing their suppliers to invest in reinventing a lot of the internal processes and how they're managing their supply chains. The Department of Defense and that whole push within the Department of Defense to have supply chains and get rid of legacy ways of operating and make things more efficient, you're going to see that permeating now into other industries. They've even got a factory in Chicago. It's an extremely large factory where manufacturers come in and refine all their processes, and the supply chain, anybody with a supply chain goes in there and they have to do these things, and they work with the Department of Defense. But that's going to merge into industry. The output of that, the US government is pushing for industry to adopt. So it's going to be key. And we're going to see that in countries such as Singapore, which have such a high push into bringing a technical aspect to all parts of business. Even supply chain for food here is a big thing. And that's why you see these investments being made in farms within the country too. So it is going to revolutionize. And I think people need to look at that, because you're not going to be competitive unless you could present this face to people that are buying your products or part of your supply chain.
Okay, now I'll just take one final question. It's in reference to one of your slides, which said the failure rate for IoT POCs, proof of concepts, is at a high level of 80%. Is there a possibility that we can try and reduce this failure rate? How can we bring it down?
Yeah, I think there is. I think people have to really look at what they're aiming to do. A lot of people and I see a lot of alliances and stuff forming that happened. And classic one is in 2018 in my own country when I started digging around. There was a government alliance, but they didn't really know what they wanted to do. They'd heard of this IoT word. They wanted to do something with an initiative, but they didn't really have a business reason or a business justification for it before they went into it. They were just trying to satisfy a desire to see what IoT was. But I think if people look at it in an economic sense, how are they going to revolutionize their company? How are they going to make the profitability and revenue more stable within their company? And look at it from that angle and decide what the business case is first, and then look at a POC rather than just trying something blind. I think that's the key reason, the key thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, given that we're coming up to 5 o'clock, I really want to thank both our presenters, that's Srinivas Krishnappan from Aspar NXT and Stephen Much from Software AG. And yes, thank you once again.
No problems at all. Thanks very much.
Bob, and I would like to thank the event organizers for facilitating such a wonderful event.
No, sure, it's great to have you. We welcome you back at future LogiSYM events.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.